You go through this flywheel and make sure, am I living out my mission, my purpose that I've established for my team? Because a lot of us as leaders, we tend to think, all right, what are outcomes? We need outcomes. But sometimes to live out our purpose, we need behaviors.
So when we start thinking as leaders critically, we're thinking about every behavior as either effective or ineffective, not good or bad. The B buoys are behavior buoys that actually allow me to take incremental steps towards getting to the goal. And this is exactly why when we measure the outcomes, it's disengaging.
You're listening to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, a podcast that delivers value and offers up insight that'll help your credit union grow. ServiceStar has been consulting with credit unions for over 20 years, growing them in the areas of cultural development, leadership development, and management training. To learn more about what ServiceStar can do for you or your credit union, check them out at servicestarconsulting.com.
You're listening to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, and today you are a fly on the wall of a strategic planning session. Or wait a second, is it strategic thinking? Today, you may walk away thinking, I'm not a fly, I'm Marty McFly, because I'm a strategic master. Welcome to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast. I'm Scott Albrecht, and on the ones and twos, we've got Rachel Neal, our executive producer of our podcast, and in the kitchen, cooking up your strategic mastery is Scott Anderly in the house.
Man, we're getting hyped on this. Talking about strategic thinking today. It's going to be a good time. We're going to give you a little tidbit of what we teach in our leadership program with a flywheel that helps encourage strategic thinking. We're going to answer some questions. Albrecht's even brought his wheel. We're going to answer some questions from, I don't know if this is from a Vertex participant or if it's from a listener or if it's someone from a live training we've done, but we're going to answer a question we got from one of you. And then we're going to end it off with a game, strategic thinking or strategic planning. And this is going to help us get in the right mindset as leaders. So, Albrecht, you ready to kick this thing off?
Oh, I am ready. I am more than ready. I am kicking it.
Don't kick the can. Don't kick the can. So what we teach in, we may have already posted this episode too, but I like to call this a mini series in our Vertex leadership program. I call it the leadership mini series because we talk about establishing purpose and how you communicate it. And once you have that purpose, naturally what you need to do is you need to get in the mindset of thinking strategically to best focus your resources to always live out your mission. And then it doesn't end there. Now that you have your purpose, your mission, now you can think strategically on a daily basis or a quarterly basis. It's not just one big event. Then how do you do this day to day? And the third part of that mini series, I could be the only one calling it a mini series. I just like thinking like movies or trilogy, is effective decision making. How do you make great decisions that reflect your strategic thinking that lives out your purpose? So this is a very, very practical nuts and bolts class. And Albrecht, I'm going to give away a little bit of a secret. All right. Give away a little bit of a secret. And what we talk about there, one of the things is this thing called the strategic flywheel. And this flywheel, we call it a flywheel because it's not steps. You don't do this once and it's done. You literally do this every day, every quarter. When your core's up for renewal or contract's up for renewal, you go through this flywheel and make sure, am I living out my mission, my purpose that I've established for my team? So the flywheel, here's the 4 things you want to do. And they might start at different areas, but typically it starts with the first thing, which is core purpose. This is, you go back, what's our purpose of our organization or our specific department? How do we reflect the mission of our credit union? Which what I say is, and how does my department live out the mission of the credit union, which lives out the mission of the umbrella man? So you start with that core purpose. Then from that, you say, all right, how do I know if we're living out our purpose? And this is where it gets a little hazy because a lot of us as leaders, we tend to think, all right, what are outcomes? We need outcomes. But sometimes to live out our purpose, we need behaviors. So what are measurement tools that can monitor behaviors of us living this out? And yes, outcomes may reflect that as well. And then once you've determined how you will measure this, what's the metric, then you look at those numbers and you say, all right, based on these numbers, are we living out our purpose to its fullest potential? And if you find a way to live it better, to maximize it, to be the best it can be, then you go to the 4th part of the strategic flywheel, which is you make changes and you implement these changes. And then you see these changes. What do? They live out your purpose. And then you look back at your measurement tool. Is this the best tool? And then you go back to, all right, has this improved the results? What do I need to tweak? And it just keeps going every day. Or it could be something you do quarterly. So Albrecht, when we look at the strategic flywheel, what's the big thing you want people when you train this to walk away with from that?
Critical thinking.
Mm.
I want people to be able to look at why they know what they know, and how do they know what they know is real. So when you first started as a credit union, you get that first 90-day window where you get a lot of questions, and a lot of those questions that new hires ask are usually them kind of pointing out some of the ineffective things that you do as a department. I mean, it could just be because of ignorance and they need learning, but many times we put on our glasses of, well, that's just how we've done it forever. That's just how we do things here. And we lose the opportunity to critically think about how does this little thing that in the grand scheme of things may not matter as much, but in strategic thinking, that those are the little things that either count towards our mission or count against our mission. And so when we start thinking as leaders critically, we're thinking about every behavior as either effective or ineffective, not good or bad. I don't use good or bad, because a lot of the things that we do eventually will help us move forward, but there are more effective ways of moving forward, more critical ways to think about what we do, the behaviors that actually lead to those outcomes. And so that's what I want leaders to walk away from in our strategic thinking class, is not necessarily to be strategic chess playing masters, but to be able to think critically about how to be more efficient and more effective in their day-to-day tasks, and how to align those otherwise minuscule tasks with purpose and mission, using that purpose statement.
That's a really good point. It actually, part of that trilogy is decision making too. And it makes me think our leaders are faced with, sometimes there's decisions that we make that's like, it's black and white. Dude, do the right thing, do the right thing. And then there's some that they're more complicated. They're more complex there's a range of right answers. And I love that you said it's not right or wrong answers. It's right answers, but one may be more effective at living out my purpose. One may be less effective. So we want to have the ability to critically think. And that's where strategic thinking in this flywheel is huge. So let's go take it to office hours. And this is from, I assume, a listener. It's someone who's been trying to apply this flywheel into, it looks like being a branch manager. So let's take it to office hours. We're going to ask this question.
Office hours.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
All right, back with it with office hours. So today we're going to be answering a question from a listener. And Albrecht, are you even there? It looks like you've got an umbrella. What's going on over there?
That's right. You could call me the Umbrella Man. Check out Umbrella Man Shopify for merch this upcoming year for all of your employee giveaways. Hearken to the roots of our credit union movement. Go ahead and get yourself a Louise McCarran Herring pin for your next employee giveaway.
We have that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
That's
all right,
pretty sweet.
Let's talk about living out being the umbrella man with my team for our members with this question we have. And here's the question. I've attended your Becoming a Sales Champion class. It's a fantastic class. I'm glad you went. I've attended it. I'm trying to apply this flywheel that I've learned from Vertex Leadership. Oh, okay. For what I've learned from becoming a sales champion and for my team. I'm having trouble finding a measurement tool, a metric to measure our outcome of netting 84 members by the end of the year at my branch. How can I find a good measurement tool? What is a good measurement tool? They're really thinking about this one, Albrecht. So Albrecht, as I share this question, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Oh, I'm on a beach in Traverse City, Michigan, and I'm looking at the bay. And there's several buoys in front of me, and I'm in a boat on the beach, and I got to get to Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is how many new members?
It says 84 is how many they want to net.
84. So I got to get to Lake Michigan, and I have 0 today. I got 0 today. Well, how do I get 84 members? Well, I probably have to talk to 840 non-members. I probably need to get in front of a lot of non-members to make some of them members of my credit union. And so my buoys are not membership goals. My buoys are, how can I get out to bring the membership in? How can I use existing members to grow my membership? What are the behaviors? Those are the buoys. The B buoys are behavior buoys that actually allow me to take incremental steps towards getting to the goal. And so meeting with 100 non-members could be the first buoy, right? Signing 10 of those 100 non-members up for a secondary meeting with me where we sit down and we go over the benefits of the credit union might be my secondary buoy. My third buoy might be signing up one of those 10 members or two or whatever you think the number should be, 5, with a real membership. And now here we go. And so 84 is a big number. 5's not. So how do I get to 5? And anytime you have a new branch or a new goal or something like it's the first of the month, you got to kind of stair step and baby step yourself into, well, okay, I need $200,000 worth of loan origination. Okay, why? That's our purpose statement. Cool. What's it going to take? Well, I'm probably going to have to get new memberships and talk to existing memberships. Those are my measurement tools, right? How do I measure that? Well, am I making outbound calls to existing members to talk about loans? And then, am I going to events that would get me new members that don't have loans with us today? And then observation. I mean, that's January 31st. Did I get 84 members? Yes or no? And if no, then I go back to the behavior buoys and say, are those the right buoys?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not I'm not going to question the goal, but I might need bigger buoys. I might need to be changing my behavior to be more effective. See, all the behaviors that I could do to get a new member, they're probably all effective, but they're not probably as effective as some other behaviors. And so I need to continue to assess that, and it never goes away.
Yeah, seeing which one's most
We're always
effective.
Assessing the buoys.
Always balancing want to work. Yeah. Always assessing the buoys. So let's talk about assessing the buoys a few different ways. One thing I heard you say was a behavior that could get you to this 84 net members by the end of the year could be a behavior would be that living out our mission of helping members win with money is I'm going to be proactive in helping them. So part of being proactive, a behavior that would show me being proactive is me going to events, me getting our name out there, meeting potentially new members. And we could say, all right, how can we measure that? Well, how many events are there? How many events do we go per month? And how many people do we talk to per month? All right. So those are some good behaviors. I love the one you said of every time I sit down and talk with someone about meetings. That's actually a behavior we've started implementing is before they leave, hey, let's schedule a time to talk again. So that way they know when to talk, we know when to talk, and it doesn't get lost in limbo. And we're being proactive of helping their lives and just doing that behavior at the end of every call we have. Another one I'm thinking of, all right, because what we're looking for is a measurement tool to measure a behavior that's living out my mission. So if my mission is to improve the financial well-being of our lives, all right, some of us, we're so focused on 84 net members. It's whoa. Why is 84 net members important? What's your core purpose? Well, my core purpose is I want to help others win with money because that allows them to fight for dreams. All right. So if I get 84 members, how would that help me live their purpose? Because we're going to provide the guidance, the tools to help them win with money. Okay. So what would be a measurement tool that would reflect my purpose, yet still get me to that outcome? Well, if you've taken our Becoming a Sales Champion course, it could be using the benefit statement, the 10-second referral with every member you talk to. And all right, that is a measurement tool that, you said observation, right? It doesn't have to be some sort of system thing where we check a box. It could be just, if I'm walking and I say, I expect you to say a 10-second referral and give a resource to every member. If I walk by, if I see you doing that, you're living it out. If I walk by and I see you not doing it with one member, then I know you're not doing it with every member every time. And these 10-second referrals, they're 10 seconds. They're really quick. And it shows the member that I want to help you win with money so you can fight for dreams. So these measurement tools, they can be as complex, but I really want to strive to make it as simple as possible as well.
And I want I want to have empathy for the person who just got the 84 new member goal. And I want to walk in their shoes. And I want to let you know, this is exactly why when we measure the outcomes, it's disengaging. If I'm that leader and I know I got to get 84 new members, well, I don't know 84 people, let alone 84 people that don't have credit union accounts. And so it's out of my control. What I have control over is two things, my attitude and my effort. And so if a coach wants to engage team members who have a goal of 84, then a coach is going to talk about the behaviors and measure the behaviors to be able to make sure we get to the right outcomes. And so if I'm that person and you're listening to this podcast right now and you currently have 0 members and you have 84 new members, I'm going to pretend to be your coach right now. I don't want you to get 84 new members. I want you to establish relationships that allow you to build enough rapport to educate as to how we could help their household. And I want you to proactively move those relationships into active checking accounts, active savings accounts that will actually allow us to live out our mission with those people that don't have access to our financial advantage. And I want you to do that every day. And I want you to do that with as many people as you can find. And at the end of the year, I bet you blow that goal out of the water. But what I don't want is 84 memberships with a single share savings account. So I don't want you to focus on the 84 memberships, but I want you to focus on what you're going to do today to make a person who doesn't know about our credit union have a relationship with us. That's what I want you to focus on.
Really good words. Speaking of words, let's hear some words from our sponsor. Service Stars target leadership. Credit unions executives, we cannot afford to have breakdowns in key leadership areas. If you have breakdowns in communication, what's that going to create? Unnecessary conflict, drama, and just dropping the ball. If we have breakdowns in relationship, what does this create? Mistrust, toxic environments. If there's breakdowns in alignment, we're wasting effort. We're losing time. There's division. Breakdowns in execution. Oh my gosh, we're talking about unmet goals, missed deadlines, blown budgets, and damaged credibility. These are the things you don't want. What you need to do is gain insights into your strengths and weaknesses by diagnosing each of these leadership areas and pinpointing opportunities for improvement. And guess what? Service Star Consulting and Giant Worldwide are joining forces to nurture credit union leaders who can inspire. We've got a certified coach, Peter Tyson, who is going to test these out and work on these skills to help you develop your talent, your alignment, your reflection, your growth, your engagement, and tailored coaching sessions, one-on-one coaching sessions where you get to reflect what you've learned on during these courses. This is a great thing. If you've taken Emerging Leaders and Vertex, this is the next step in your leadership journey. This is meant for managers, directives, and executive leaders. It's also meant for people that want to become executive leaders. So don't wait. Sign up today. The link is in the show notes. Game time. And we're back with the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, and we're going to play a game here. Albrecht, you look like the 60s game show host with that microphone right there.
I'm so excited to be chosen from the audience for today's game show. I want to say hi to my mom. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. And I'm just super excited. I'm kind of nervous. I'm super excited to be chosen from the game show for today. Thank you for having me today. Hi, Mom.
And what's behind door number 1 if you win? 1,000 Service
It's a
Star
brand
points.
new book, Coaching for Maximum Performance, now available on Amazon and available in the Kindle format as well. Written by our manager and our boss and our esteemed leader, founder of Service Star Consulting, Michael Neal.
Yeah, actually, that's the book that is the foundation of a lot of our teachings that had a lot of academic research behind it. So, man, what a great plug. I wasn't even expecting that. So
I know, it's crazy. I thought it was a bonk.
A bonkers. So speaking of going bonkers, let's see how crazy we get with this game if you win. So this is how the game works. All right. You have 2 options. You can say, is it strategic thinking or is it strategic planning? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a situation and you've got to answer the question. And then I'm going to tell you, after a dramatic pause, maybe some epic music, and I'm going to tell you if you are right or wrong. And then I want us to discuss, why are you right or wrong? Are you ready for this, Albrecht?
Yeah, spin the wheel.
Wait, before I spin the wheel, though, wait, there's more. Let's talk about this difference of strategic thinking and planning, because so often we get people that think, all right, isn't strategic thinking just strategic planning? Shouldn't I just do this once a year or quarterly? And the answer is no. Strategic thinking is something we do every day. And strategic planning, you know what? When you said something earlier, Albrecht, that I really liked. You said, I'm in control of my attitude and my effort. In strategic thinking, I would say falls with what is the attitude you can have or what's the effort you can put forth right now. Where strategic planning is you're creating a to-do list, essentially. Would you agree? What else would you add to the difference of strategic planning and thinking?
Yeah, strategic planning gives you more work to do. And strategic thinking makes the work that you have to do more efficient, more effective. And so it's actually making your whole team a lot more effective versus coming away from strategic planning session. And now we all have projects and subcommittees and subcommittees and cross-functional subcommittees, and we all have more work to do. So one gives you more work, one makes your work more efficient, more effective.
Awesome, man. That's a great way to describe it. So now that you know the two options, listeners, strategic thinking or strategic planning, what I'm going to do is I'm going to present a situation and I'm going to ask you, is it strategic thinking or strategic planning? And I'm going to give the listener some time to think and decide. And then Albrecht, I want you to decide. And then I'm going to tell you if it's right or wrong. So, are you ready for your first situation?
Deal.
All right. So, deal or no deal. So here we have a branch manager and we're wondering, is this strategic thinking or strategic planning? Reorganizing the flow of the branch to feel based on where people sit. Actually, there's a tidbit of more information here. An example would be a manager doesn't use their office and sits in the lobby unless they have a closed door meeting. So is this strategic thinking or strategic planning? Oh, yes, Albrecht. Yeah, you're the first one to beep in. Actually, the only one that's participating.
Yeah.
What's the answer?
Hi, Mom. What is strategic thinking?
And survey says. You're right. It's strategic thinking. 500 the service star points. You're getting closer to that million, thousand, hundredth of points that you need to win this game. So Albrecht, walk us through. Why is this not strategic planning? Reorganizing the flow of the branch to feel based on where people sit and where people do work.
If this was strategic planning, you'd have to fire your strategic planner. This is a little too much in the weeds, and a lot of boards want to go into the weeds. And the problem with that is, as a strategic planner, I don't know a lot about your branches. I can't help you with that. And so strategic planning session has to stay very high level. And we got to trust the leaders that we've hired and we paid money to take our high level strategy and deploy what that looks like operationally speaking. So if we say we want to grow in a strategic planning session, we don't need to sit there and figure out how. We have a chief marketing officer that can help us with the how. But what we're trying to figure out in strategic planning is the what. Now, as leaders who are dealt with the what and dealt the how from that chief marketing officer, we now need to take a look at our resources, which is probably short-staffed, which is probably limited, and say, where are we strongest? And can we lean on those strengths and double down on those strengths to be able to leverage those to mitigate our weaknesses, mitigate the gap? So we can't focus so much on our weaknesses so that we're mediocre, but we have to acknowledge weaknesses and address them with our strengths, or at least work on the weaknesses to the point where they're not weaknesses. So they can't be a weakness. They don't have to be a strength, to quote Taylor Murray. But it's the process as a manager of just being a good steward of the resources. And that could be people, that could be time, that could be money, that could be equipment.
Yeah.
Just using your resources wisely.
Yeah, it could be where you put the shredder. It could be where you put the brochures that is easily accessible for the staff or for the members. I think an example, correct me if I'm wrong, of strategic planning would be designing, hey, we're going to do a completely new layout, new construction of this branch.
Yep, that would be a what. Yeah, so we're gonna redo all the branches. That's a what. How? Well, let's have our chief branch officer sit down with DBSI and look at different drafts. We're not going to decide that in a board meeting, right? But then as a branch manager, that how it gets passed on to you. Now I've got a brand new branch. As a strategic thinker, how do I utilize the new branch in the best way possible given the resources that I have? I've got someone who's friendly, who wakes up at 7:30 and at 8 o'clock they're ready to go shake hands, kiss babies, and talk about your weekend. And I got another person who won't smile until after 10 o'clock. So
Until
which one do
after
I put in the greeter position in the brand new branch designed for me? And so it doesn't matter what they come up with in strategic planning. You still have what you have as a leader, and strategic thinking can happen daily because we can master the fact that we have what we have. How do we maximize our output with the inputs that we have?
Great, great definition of steward. All right, ready for question 2, Albrecht?
I'm ready.
All right. And who do you want to give a shout out and say thank you for preparing you for this moment?
Mom, thank you
All right.
for everything. Thank you. I want to thank God. I want to thank the crowd because they didn't get chosen, which means that I got chosen, which is amazing. And I might phone a friend. I might actually bring the crowd into this at some point in time. So.
All right. And listeners, thank you for being here and participating as well. Question number 2.
Oh yeah. Thank the listeners. That's smart.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
good.
Question number 2, strategic thinking or strategic planning? Purchasing a member relationship management software.
What is strategic planning?
And survey says. You are right, Albrecht. 500 more service star points. Way to go. All right, so let's talk about this. Why is this strategic planning and not strategic thinking, purchasing member relationship management software? Wouldn't that be, oh, I'm thinking of something that's making our job easier? Explain the difference here.
Yeah, many managers would love to be able to just go out and purchase Salesforce. But departmentally speaking, that would be a narrow-sighted way of accomplishing what you have to accomplish. And so buying a CRM or an MRM, that's an organization-wide initiative that takes significant resources, both from a money standpoint, but also from a time and training, and also just from a maintenance and management after the fact. I know my former credit union went through an MRM conversion. They're still working on it 7 years after the fact, and they've got dedicated FTEs that only work on that programming because it's that much of a lift. And so that's an organizational initiative. It's not strategic thinking per se, it's strategic planning, and it does create work. So that's where the evidence comes from. If I get an MRM, a lot of people are going to be doing a lot more work. And so there we go. There's your evidence.
So strategic thinking would be something more of like, what are behaviors that help me get new members or new prospects? So
yeah,
maybe
how can I utilize this tool that I have? So now the organization has given me an MRM. That's another tool. So if I'm a good resource, a good steward of that, I'm going to use it. I'm gonna be competent in it. I'm gonna make sure my teammates are using it and they're competent in it because it's a tool. And so all of the tools that we have are resources that we have to think of what's the most efficient, most effective way for us to consume and utilize this resource.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're halfway through our game of strategic thinking or strategic planning. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a strategic switch up. So instead of you telling me if it's strategic planning or strategic thinking, I'm going to give you two situations, and you're going to tell me which one is strategic thinking. All right, Albrecht, are you ready?
I'd like to buy a vowel.
I'm not sure if you understand the next part of the game.
Okay, all right.
All right, I'm giving you two situations, and you're going to tell me which one is strategic thinking. All right, so strategic thinking, is it hiring a new employee, or is it figuring how to use the employees you have to accomplish more with less? Which one is strategic thinking? Yes, Albrecht, the only contestant here.
What is strategic thinking? Oh, wait. What is utilizing your current employees to achieve better outcomes? That's strategic thinking.
All right, survey says 500 more bonus service star points. Way to go,
Yes.
Albrecht. So you said strategic thinking is not hiring a new employee, but it's figuring out how to use the current employees to accomplish more with less. Explain. All right, let's think about that flywheel. How does this fit with that flywheel, or does it fit with the flywheel? How is this an example of strategic thinking?
Well, if I'm a strategic thinker, I could just say, well, we're short staffed, so we can't get our outcomes accomplished. And, many times if I go into a branch today, there's 2, 3 teller stations that are vacant. And so you could just count the teller stations and say, that's how many people we need to hire. You can go hire that many people, and eventually you might have to lay them off because we might not need 4 or 5 tellers just because you have teller stations. Actually, what we might need to do is stop talking about grandkids for an hour, maybe move our lunch breaks around and change when the brink shipment's coming in. And so as a strategic thinker, I'm looking at my flow, I'm looking at who I have, I'm looking at my schedule, I'm looking at my resources, I'm looking at when we do the downtime for our receipt printer upgrade, quote unquote, because it's never an upgrade, it's just some new software they're pushing that's going to make it not work for an hour. All of these things that are in my control, I need to organize in a way that's going to effectively help me win for my member that day.
That's a great example again of controlling your attitude and efforts, which is an example of strategic thinking. Great job. So Albrecht, final round. Are you ready?
I am ready, and I want the book.
All right. You want the book. So this is what we're going to do. I need you to tell me which one is strategic planning. I'm going to give you 2 situations, and you tell me which one is strategic planning.
Strategic planning for 500.
For 500, yes, 500 service star points will be awarded if you get this correct. Good job. So here are the 2 situations. Situation A, redesigning culture around behaviors that are coached. Again, that's A, redesigning culture around behaviors that are coached. Or B, doing a brand and logo redesign. B, doing a brand and logo redesign. Which one is strategic planning?
What is doing a brand and logo redesign?
And survey says you did it, Albrecht. Wow, all answers are right. Every single one. Congratulations. Really good job. So before we get into the celebration, Albrecht, tell me, all right, so strategic plan is doing a logo redesign, which means strategic thinking is redesigning culture around behaviors that are coached. Some might say redesigning culture, Albrecht, that sounds like a sit-down meeting for our big leaders to do. How can this redesigning culture around behaviors that are coached be something that we could do every day, every quarter? That would be an example of strategic thinking.
Yeah, it costs $0 to talk about your mission 10% more. And Gallup says if you talk about your mission 10% more, you increase productivity 4.4% and decrease turnover by 8.2%. Now, this is a trick question because I've been in strategic planning sessions, 2 recently, where that is what they picked. I want to transform my culture to be dominant in service, which means we want to focus on the behaviors that make a meaningful difference in our members' lives and tie to the mission. And that's what we do at Service Stars. We influence transformational change. So ironically, those 2 strategic planning sessions turned into business for Service Star. And so that one was kind of a trick question, but the way that I ended up settling on strategic thinking would be the behaviors is it's inside of a manager's control at the department level to not wait for the organization to say, we're going to be about our members, to not wait for my leader to understand that if you change a behavior to change an outcome. If you go to our Vertex live session and not a single other leader from your credit union does, you don't have to wait to lead from where you sit. If you're not even a leader and you listen to this podcast and you're like, well, I can't wait for me to get promoted so I can actually use this crap. You can lead from where you sit.
Yeah.
Is it going to be hard to do? 100%. Is it going to be easier just to go with the flow? Yeah, you might even get promoted faster that way. But after years of you having higher results by coaching to behaviors, which impact better outcomes, eventually someone's going to figure out that your department's pretty cool. And they're going to come to you and say, so what's your secret? And eventually you're going to see success from doing the right thing, which will be the hard thing over the course of the long term. So many times when people have picked this one, coaching to behaviors to change a culture, I let them know you picked the hardest one, right? Like a redesign,
Yeah.
I can throw money at it and make it go away. I can hire a company and make it go away. They pick a new logo. Maybe I bring in a subject matter expert crew and, they take a look at it and we pick one as a group and we go forward. And sure, there's some work there, but every day, every member, every time looking for a way to maximize their membership. Woo-wee, baby. You just picked the hardest one, and it is in our control. And because it's in our control and it's something that we can do at the departmental level, it makes it something that's daily. And that's why I picked strategic planning as being the brand redesign and strategic thinking as being redesigning behaviors to give us a culture that's all about the member.
Man, you said something that I want us to end on. It was really powerful. You don't need to wait for a leader to think strategically. You don't need to wait to be a leader to think strategically. And that is exactly why this podcast is here. It's for you that are leading. And there are some challenges that are coming up, but you can still think strategically and say, how can we best live out the mission with the resources I have? You can still think strategically if you're a individual contributor or a rock star team member right now, and maybe you aspire to leadership, maybe you don't want to be a leader, but this still will develop you to best live out your purpose, that will live out your organization's mission, that will reflect being the umbrella man for our movement. So guys, thank you so much for being at the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, where we inspire current and aspiring leaders. But don't go just yet. We're going to my favorite segment of the show to end off, which is catching you doing it right. It's where you submit. And again, we got the link in the notes. It's super easy. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to sign up for anything. You just press record. You talk for a minute. Boom, sends it to us. And what we want to do is give you a tool to use positive reinforcement to catch your team living out the mission or your purpose of your department. So we've got a submission here. We're going to play it right now and end off the show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Catching you doing it right.
Hi, Julie, April, Navpreet, and Josh. Congratulations on graduating from Vertex Live nationwide. I know you all have spent the past 6 months dedicating yourselves to growing as leaders, refining your skills, and becoming exceptional coaches. The program has equipped you with tools and insights that will not only enhance your own leadership, but also empower you to lead your teams. The strides you've made in communication, decision-making, and mentoring will have lasting effects on your team and Kemba Credit Union. As I prepare to step into retirement, I feel confident in the future of Kemba because of leaders like you. You each embody the dedication and passion needed to carry on and strengthen the culture of Kemba Credit Union leadership. The future is brighter because of your hard work and commitment. So best wishes to you to continue to inspire, lead, and make a difference. I know you all will achieve incredible things.
Interested in submitting a question to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, we want to hear from you. Go in our show notes. We have a link over there, and in that link, it's going to take you to two options. You can submit a question written out through email, or you can submit an audio recording through SpeakPipe. We make it super easy. Go to the link in the show notes, click audio recording. Once you click audio recording, it's going to take you straight to a website where you just press the record button. You've got 90 seconds to submit a question or submit you catching doing somebody do it right. And then you just type in your name and email address, and that's it. It comes straight to us, and we'll take it from there. So you don't need to download anything. You don't need to get any new software. You just go to this website, press record, and click submit, and we're good to go. So go to the link in the show notes, click if you want to submit a question written out or through audio, and we'll take it from there. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
The financial impact of successfully interacting with irate members is extremely significant. Studies show that 83% of customers feel more loyal to brands that respond to resolve their complaints. Additional research from Harvard Business Review reveals that dissatisfied customers, the only thing they're really looking for is empathy when they use negative or angry tones. So with that reality in mind, there's critical skills for employees to master in effectively handling irate members. In diffusing irate members, ServiceStar brings our research from Filing Institute. And guess what? This is a challenge for us because we revealed that credit union employees are the most likely to avoid conflict by freezing or fleeing from it. So sign up for this class, Diffusing Irate Members, where you're going to learn the top reasons why members become irate, how to treat an irate member throughout the interaction, knowing when and how to terminate an interaction professionally and respectfully if needed, and how to stay positive to help diffuse the anger. So go on to the show notes, click Diffusing Irate Members. This is an online workshop that is 2 hours with a ton of information that will empower you in handling irate members.